Hello, everyone. All right. Yeah, I was like, this is after lunch, so, you know. How many of you are in a product owner, product, manager roles? Can I get a show of hands, please? All right. And how many of you are in, say, engineering roles? Got it. We got a good mix here. So this story would sound familiar. Let's say you're a product owner and you wanted to make your end users, or you wanted to empower your end users with data-driven decisions. You pull a bunch of metrics, go to your engineering teams, engineering team builds an awesome dashboard using some visualization libraries, you launch it to your users, wow, they love it. But then they ask for more. Hey, can I get you to add the year-over-year metrics also? Can I get you to add churn? Can I bring my own data? Can I just talk to the data? I don't want to bug you. Hi, my name is Shekhar Kopuri. I am one of the leaders managing product in QuickSuite, and I build and run with QuickSight, which is the business intelligence and analytics capabilities within QuickSuite. And today, with my colleague Jose, we are going to show you how you can extract value out of QuickSight by using it in embedded modes. We also have our esteemed guest, Kirtan, from Moody's, who is going to walk you through a successful embedding implementation of QuickSight. So we're going to talk about some capabilities of QuickSight. We are going to talk about what you can do by using QuickSight in embedded setting, Kirtan's journey, and then we are also going to touch upon some of the new capabilities that we launched literally 8 weeks ago in Amazon QuickSuite. Yeah, the tongue twisters keep going happen. So what is Amazon QuickSuite? It is an AI-native agentic platform that allows you to unify all of your data, structured and unstructured, your entire enterprise's corpus of knowledge into a single space. It then allows you to extract insights from it and then translates those insights into actions, and all within the framework of governance, security, observability, because it lets you then understand the business value you're extracting out of the platform. QuickSight is a unified BI experience set of capabilities within QuickSuite, where you can build interactive dashboards or pixel-perfect reports, or even have conversational analytics. To build dashboards, you can connect all your traditional data sources, be it relational databases, data lakes, and then you can use AI to author these dashboards, whether to create new visuals, format visuals, or say even create calculated fields, because you don't have to worry about remembering the syntax. We have integrated HighChart's core library into QuickSight that lets your users build a host of advanced visualizations that are not only engaging, but really beautiful. You can also build pixel-perfect reports with QuickSight. With this, you can push business-critical information directly to your end users' inboxes. These reports could be PDFs, Excels, or CSVs. And the entire framework is built on the cloud, which means that you don't have to manage servers or installations, which is typical to reporting. You can also use conversational analytics on the entire data, not just the structured data. So imagine you have the traditional data along with knowledge bases, wiki pages, emails, all of that context together. And then in natural language query, you can ask questions and get instantaneous answers with the full context. QuickSight and QuickSuite is built as cloud-native, serverless architecture, which means that you don't have to manage or host any servers. You don't have to deal with hardware upgrades. You don't have to deal with OS patches or software upgrades. And with our pay-per-use flexible pricing, you are not tied in any multi-year software contracts either. So, to understand the economics of QuickSight, there was a recent survey done by an independent third-party group. It's called Enterprise Strategy Group. And they surveyed customers who moved on to QuickSight from comparative BI workloads and found that over 3 years of usage, their cost reduced by 67%. But more importantly, the user engagement went all the way, in some cases up to 300%, and a model ROI of over 300% in 3 years. So we set out, when we are building QuickSight, to build a platform on the cloud so that we can provide insights to everyone. One of the key ways we do that today is by opening QuickSight's capabilities for embedding. What we are seeing with our customers is that the embedding setup is being used by both enterprises and independent software vendors alike. Enterprises are using the embedding setting to deploy BI capabilities in exactly where their users are operating in for doing their day-to-day jobs. So if it's an HR specialist, it's in the HR tool. If it's a marketing specialist, it's in the marketing tool, right? If it's a sales specialist, it's in the sales tool. And ISVs are supercharging their products by embedding analytics into their offering, and with that, they see higher customer satisfaction, better engagement, and higher retention rates. In fact, today, there are thousands of products that are being powered by QuickSight in the market. These range from products from small startups to really established large enterprises, where tens and thousands of users are using QuickSight capabilities within one account in an embedding setting. There are enterprises that are operating with scores of business units, or there are SaaS companies that are offering analytics using QuickSight and deploying that to thousands of tenants. So what is that all you can do with embedding in QuickSight? We allow you to embed visuals for high traffic pages. You can deploy full page analytics using interactive dashboards. You can also embed email reports. You can either use QuickSight as the authoring and generation engine, or you can use QuickSight as a full experience stack where the users schedule their reports and even the delivery of the reports happens from QuickSight. Many product managers have built value-added or upsell capabilities by introducing full self-service authoring capabilities using QuickSight in their products. There are companies who have bought in data sets using our data prep. There are companies who have allowed their end users to create their own custom dashboards from scratch by supplying pre-formatted data sets. And all of those possibilities exist with self-service authoring. You can also embed natural language queries-based conversational analytics independently. And our dashboards with anonymous embedding, you can deploy them even on public websites. So yes, we package all the analytics capabilities in all these modes. But why should you consider using QuickSight to power your analytics in your enterprise or in your products? One big reason is we are built for scale. We can easily scale from tens to hundreds of thousands of users without you having to worry about that scale. A second big reason is that we are enterprise ready. With the right kind of governance mechanisms in place, with security features like RLS and column level security, row level security, with identity propagation from AWS data lakes, and with fine-grained access control on all of your assets, you can be assured that the user only gets to see the data that they are supposed to see. We also support multiple identity integrations, starting with AWS IAM Identity Center, but you can also use third-party IDPs, identity providers like Okta and Ping through SAML. You can do direct native Active Directory integration, or if you're already on IAM, you can just use IAM Federation to manage your identity. If you have a need to deploy assets into thousands of tenants, then we offer flexibility on how you're managing that architecture. If your data is already fragmented by tenant or a business unit, you can use the construct of namespaces to completely isolate the data, the consumption layers, and your users in a namespace. But there are many companies where that is not the situation, and the data is not fragmented by the tenant upfront. So you can use RLS and CLS rules based on tags or identities to then manage the tenancy, but then the consumption layer, which is the dashboards and reports that you create and the users, can be isolated into namespaces. Or you can actually create individual stacks all the way from the account level for each tenant. And then you can manage deployment across all of that through APIs. In fact, we have a robust set of APIs and SDK that allow you to do that. Our embedding SDKs allow you to embed all of those experiences that we talked about before. And we offer things like one-click embedding, which makes it very easy for the engineering teams to integrate QuickSight into your products. You can also connect the interactions two ways between your host application and QuickSight through things like events that you are exposing on the SDK or parameters that you can push down values into QuickSight. Our APIs allow you to manage deployments at scale. For workflows like moving assets from lower environments to higher environments, or building a dashboard in one account and deploying it across thousands of accounts, or managing your users and your roles and groups through APIs. You can do all of that and make the experience your own with custom branding and theming. With brand definitions, you can define your brand colors, your brand logos, and that brand gets respected across all of the consumption layers. And with theming and custom branding available dynamically within the embedding SDK, you can actually create one experience and deploy it in multiple variants as if they are multiple avatars based on the user or the end customer, so that you don't have to rebuild the entire experience over and over again. So yes, you can use QuickSight in a way that you can power your analytical needs across multiple modalities. But you don't have to take our word for that. Companies like NFL are using all of the capabilities that I just talked about in improving their fan engagement with products like next-gen stats, where they're able to push near real-time data for every player and every play directly to their fans. They're using QuickSight for a product called Digital Athlete, which improves player safety. In NFL Combine, they build dashboards so that your fans can watch and interact live of what every player's speed and strength is. And they actually deployed that in NFL.com. And with our BI acceleration engine, we served that entire experience flawlessly, even as fans were swarming to the website. And in NFL Draft, they built a set of dashboards for every single NFL team. And for the first time for NFL, they built a conversational chat called Draft IQ Assistant, where fans could just ask questions and you would get instantaneous answers of what's happening. They also use the chat agent for actually building their content. They integrated a bunch of data into QuickSight, and then their content creators started asking questions and got sort of content summaries in about 10 to 20 seconds. Previously, they would spend a couple days gathering all those pieces of information as draft is happening and build that. All told, the entire NFL Combine and NFL Draft experiences attracted over 1 million users, 1 million visitors, and then there was insights that they pushed to broadcast channels worldwide. That is amazing, how fast they could do all of that with QuickSight's embedding capabilities. Now to walk you through another successful customer journey, let me invite Kirtan from Moody's.
Thanks, Shekhar. Hi, my name is Kirtan Dave. I'm part of the product management team at Moody's Insurance Solution. We recently launched a brand new product called Risk Data Lake, in which we actually implemented all the capabilities or most of the capabilities that Shekhar just walked us through. So we embedded QuickSight into the application to enable our clients to build their own analytics. So in this section, I'll go over some of the work that we did, more like what, why, and how. What did we build? Why did we build it that way? And how did we build it? So that you get an idea of how we approached this problem. But before I go deep into this, let me first give you guys an idea of what Moody's Insurance Solution is. So if you're not familiar with us, we are the market leader in providing analytical solutions to the insurance industry, property and casualty insurance industry, to help them quantify catastrophe risk. We provide models and solutions that help the industry understand their exposure to events like earthquakes and hurricanes and other catastrophe events. We provide such analytics throughout the risk lifecycle. So if you think about the journey of insurance risk, it starts from primary underwriting, where the risk is getting underwritten for the very first time, all the way to reinsurance and brokers and other players in between. And at every step of the way, every entity is trying to really understand what their exposure is to catastrophe events like earthquake and hurricane. We deliver all this analytics using persona-centric applications. Some of the names you see in there, Risk Modeler, Treaty IQ, Underwrite IQ, Exposure IQ, are persona-centric applications that are built to deliver that analytics to our end users. And these applications are built on a platform that we call Intelligent Risk Platform. This platform provides the infrastructure and core set of services that these applications take advantage of. This platform and all these applications are built on AWS technology. And we are the first and the only provider of the cloud-native platform and applications spanning the entire risk lifecycle, covering catastrophe modeling needs for the property and casualty insurance. Today, we have over hundreds of clients using the platform and one or more applications on the platform. When we look at our clients' teams that are working on the platform, they consist of, obviously, the business users, in this example, Jane, who could be an underwriter or a portfolio manager. Now, a person like Jane looks for in-depth analytics to be delivered to her in a timely manner so that she could then turn those insights into business decisions. The group that provides such analytics to Jane are practitioners, in this example, a person named John, who works with our platform and our applications on a daily basis. In his role, John processes a large volume of data and uses multiple tools to turn that data into analytics and insights and delivers that to Jane and other business leaders. In order to provide this analytics in a timely manner, what John needs is scalable infrastructure so that he can process large volume of data and provide timely insights. In addition, there are also team members, in this example, Sarah, who perform very deep research on the analytics that we provide through the platform and the application as a starting point. So her job is to analyze, again, a very large volume of data to draw insights that will help Jane kind of build the competitive edge in the marketplace. And similar to John, Sarah also strives for scalable infrastructure so that she can process large volume of data and turn them into insights. So when teams that I just kind of walked through, when they are looking to advance their analytical capabilities and figure out how to kind of derive advanced analytics out of large volume of data, they look for solutions out in the market, and obvious solution that they land on are data lakes, where data lakes, as most of you would know, provide all the scalable infrastructure, the flexibility in terms of the data schemas and all that, where the data doesn't need to be structured in a relational database in order for John and Sarah to take advantage of. But as they are evaluating these data lakes and try to implement that into their ecosystem and integrate that with their workflows, they run into a slew of challenges. A very common challenge that we see is that the strategy that they apply is, hey, let's build a data lake, let's dump all the data into data lake, and users will figure out how to take advantage of that product and get the insights delivered. And that doesn't work very well in most cases. In fact, we have seen examples after examples where that has not worked out very well. One of our largest clients actually spent 2 years building such data lake capabilities, and it has been over a year since that project concluded, and unfortunately, they are still not able to take full advantage of such a data lake. These are the challenges that they run into, and we have seen examples after examples where vanilla data lake implementations struggle to deliver the value that they promise. This was our motivation to build what we call the applied data lake or risk data lake. Risk Data Lake builds on the data lake foundation. So it brings all the benefits of the data lake, everything from scalable infrastructure to schema, flexibilities and so forth. But in addition, it also brings domain-specific organization of the data and represents the data entities not just as series of integers and strings, but rather domain-specific concepts such as portfolio, policies, and locations, the concepts that make sense in the risk management arena. This data lake also comes with built-in analytical tools, everything from drag-and-drop reporting capability that we built using QuickSight, as well as ability to query the data using SQL, and for more advanced users like Sarah that we saw earlier, to be able to use programmable notebooks to analyze data and build advanced analytics. We integrated Risk Data Lake with the Intelligent Risk Platform that I covered just a few slides ago. And by doing so, everyone on our client side, from Jane to John, and even Sarah, are able to take advantage of Risk Data Lake, use it to develop and consume advanced risk analytics. So, in summary, what Risk Data Lake is an extension of the platform that we have built, which is called Intelligent Risk Platform. It comes with full integration with the platform, meaning all the data that we have in the platform is available in Risk Data Lake. In addition, it allows users to import other data assets that they might want to incorporate into the analytics. In terms of tools, it covers the entire spectrum of analytical tools, from reporting engine to ability to query the data using SQL and programmable notebooks with Python and R. The drag and drop reporting functionality that we built in Risk Data Lake was built through AWS QuickSight. So now let's look at how we did that. So here is a screenshot of the application that we built. This is an embedded experience on the designer side. Here you see kind of the core component of our Risk Data Lake, which we call Risk Data Catalog, where the data is cataloged, as I mentioned earlier, in a with a domain context. So the data assets that you see over there would make sense to our end users, and they kind of hide a lot of the complexity of joining various data elements to get to this level. And we built this kind of what we call visualization-ready data sets for designers to be able to start with that and turn them into QuickSight analysis and dashboards. Now, once the data is available that way, using the embedded designer experience that we built within our application, designer can then turn that into various analysis and dashboards. So if you think about John, our practitioner that we saw earlier, no longer needs to work with IT team, as Shekhar was mentioning, to then kind of collect the data or turn that into a dashboard, only to then figure out, oh, now the business users need a slight change to it or want to slice and dice the data a different way, right? So in this example, John would actually act as a designer and will design the dashboard as he's delivering that insight to Jane, the business person. And all this was made possible thanks to the capabilities of Amazon QuickSight. Now, how did we implement this? So let's take a slightly deeper dive into the steps we followed. So as I mentioned, we have our platform and persona-centric applications. All these applications write their data into the underlying common data store that underpins the platform. And because we are on AWS, these are S3 buckets that we have. Now, we built a risk data catalog on top of this underlying data source. And this is where we arrange the data in a way that makes sense to our end users. But we didn't stop there. We added another layer on top of it to feed it into QuickSight. So we built QuickSight data sets where multiple joins were performed on the risk data catalog to represent the data in a ready-to-be visualized way. And this is how the designers get access to all the data sets and all the underlying data for them to turn that into dashboards and publish that for the business consumption. Now, as I said, we have hundreds of clients using our platform and various applications. And the way we deploy that is through a multi-tenancy model. And so when we were integrating QuickSight into our platform and into Risk Data Lake, we also had to figure out how to do that for a multi-tenancy setup. And as Shekhar mentioned, there were multiple options that were available, and the one that we chose was through the namespace, and I'll give you a bit more detail on that. But yeah, so we have QuickSight installation for every single tenant out of hundreds of tenants that we have deployed in production. So let's start how we did that. So each tenant gets a unique IAM role corresponding to a namespace. As Shekhar mentioned, we kind of took the namespace approach. Every namespace contains the tenant users and security groups. Access to all this data under the tenant is controlled by these security groups. Now for QuickSight installation, we created logical folder that holds all of the data sets, the analysis that the designer is building, and all the dashboards. And access to this folder were controlled by the security groups that I mentioned. So now you replicate that in other tenant where you would still be able to kind of keep the names the same. Like we didn't want to change the name of the data sets from one tenant to another. So dashboards can become exchangeable and so forth. And we were able to achieve that through this kind of deployment model. Now, we didn't stop at just the tenant level. We also had to implement row level security. So if you go back to the team that I was talking about, John and Sarah, and even Jane for that matter, could have access to different data assets within the same tenant because they belong to different business units or other reasons. And so we had to make sure that as a designer is going into Risk Data Lake and designing a dashboard, or a consumer, like a business user, is accessing those dashboards, they can only see the data that they have access to. And the way we implemented this is through the integration with the platform and Risk Data Lake application, we pass the identity of the user, whether it is a designer or a consumer, all the way down to QuickSight. And using QuickSight's row-level security feature in the data sets that we deployed in QuickSight, we are able to then implement that security access layer such that users will only see the data that he or she has access to. Now think about this. Implementing such granular access control in a vanilla data lake would be very, very difficult. So this is how we keep on adding more and more value in Risk Data Lake on top of what the vanilla data lake functionality provides you. And again, this was made possible because of the functionality available in QuickSight. We deliver the entire QuickSight experience in an embedded way. So what you are looking at is our Risk Data Lake application, where the designer experience is fully embedded within the application. So designers remain in the Risk Data Lake application. They don't have to go to a different application to build the dashboard. And once the designer publishes the dashboard is made available to every single application that we have in the platform. So the applications that I mentioned earlier, Risk Modeler, Treaty IQ, Underwrite IQ, every single application gets all the dashboards that were deployed through Risk Data Lake. And the reason for that is, so the business users, Jane in our example, doesn't need to switch context, right? So she is a regular user of Risk Modeler, which is our signature product, and she can still remain in Risk Modeler and access all the dashboards that were built through Risk Data Lake application. So this was very powerful, and the reason, one of the big reasons why we selected QuickSight was because of their embeddability, not only on the consumption side, but also on the designer side, where we don't want John to go out and talk to IT people and rely on them to build those dashboards. He can act as a designer while still being in the application, build the dashboards, and publish them. So I hope this gives you an idea of what we did it, how we did it, and why we took this approach. Now, we are living in an era where if I'm talking about some analytics and I don't talk about Gen AI capability, it's kind of incomplete, right? So where do we think kind of are taking this functionality forward? Now, Shekhar already touched upon some of them, that those functionalities are, some of them are available already, but we have not integrated that into our application. So our vision is to start integrating them into our application as we have built it. So the very first one is what we are going to call talk to the dashboard, right? So if you think about the business persona who was accessing all this dashboard, imagine she's looking at a dashboard that contains real critical information with multiple worksheets and all that stuff. So while that information is very valuable, at the end, what she is interested in is asking some questions and trying to figure out what the answers are. And she can do that by navigating through the dashboard, or imagine that she can just ask that question, and the agent will basically look at the dashboard, look at the underlying data, and provide the answer. If we take it one step further, if you remember designer John, what if he could build some of these visualizations and dashboards, again, by just talking or in a natural language? Such Gen AI capabilities would be super powerful and will revolutionize how users develop and consume risk analytics. The Risk Data Lake applications provide a strong foundation for development of such futuristic capabilities, and we are looking forward to the partnership with the AWS team to develop and integrate such capabilities. Now, Risk Data Lake was launched in October of this year, literally just 2 months ago. And we started the journey of integrating QuickSight into our application in February of this year. So we were able to turn that around in a matter of months and launch it as a product offering. And we are already seeing a lot of excitement in the market. Risk Data Lake, with its current capabilities and futuristic capabilities like what I just covered, will democratize the risk analytics. Like everyone from Jane to John and Sarah will be able to not only process large volume of data, turn data into analytics and insights, and really achieve competitive edge in the market. In our industry, that would mean better risk selection, really understanding what the impact of catastrophe is into their exposure. Jane, our business person, will be able to access advanced risk analytics in timely manner. There are cases, especially when they go through renewal cycles, they want to consume more and more analytics, but the time it takes to turn data into insights is too long, especially when the data is too large. So she no longer needs to spin up multi-year IT projects to make incremental enhancements to her analytical capabilities. She can rely on her team, act as designers to deliver these insights. We are super excited about the future of risk analytics and the role that Risk Data Lake and the intelligent risk platform will play in it. The collaboration with the AWS team has been amazing up to this point, and we look forward to extending this partnership. So with that, I'll pass it over to Jose to cover the rest of it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Tough session after lunch. We need coffee probably. So my name is Jose Baños. I'm a QuickSuite go-to-market specialist, worldwide specialist. And I brought this quote into the session, and I would like to ask, raise your hand if you know who was Charles Darwin. I guess everybody, right? Otherwise, I would be in a trouble. This is probably his most famous quote. It is not the strongest species, the one that survived, neither the smartest one, but the one with the most capability to adapt to the environment. And you might think, what is the relationship between this and QuickSuite? Well, think also about companies, enterprise, corporation 50 years ago. Big corporation 40 years ago, they probably are not around anymore, or not the leaders on their sector. Even think about shorter time, 10 years ago, software services. They are probably not anymore around. Why? They were great. They were strong at one point in time. But maybe they were not able to adapt. This is the timeline of QuickSight. QuickSight has been around approximately a little bit between 8 to 9 years. And there is a key concept that you see through this timeline: adding new functionalities. And there is one reason why we can add new functionalities constantly. It's because the solid foundation of QuickSight. It allows us to release functionalities almost every 2 weeks. But there is another key concept here: working backwards. Have you heard about working backwards? I'm sure if you are working with Amazon, you have heard about that. 90% of the features that we are adding to the QuickSight, and you will see that we are at some point mixing QuickSight with QuickSuite. So 90% of the functionalities in QuickSight, they are coming from you, from our customers, from Moody's, from all of our customers. And that reflects our desire to adapt to the need of the market. Our customers, and of course, we also have our own roadmap, but most of these functionalities are coming from you. You can see if you look just at 2020, we were then using release QuickSight Q, providing NLQ capabilities on our dashboards. You were able in 2020 to ask questions using natural language to dashboard. But then let's continue thinking or working backwards. What we have seen and heard from our customers in the last couple of years. They spend a lot of time collecting data from multiple locations, using multiple analytics tools that lead into a lack of what is the right source of truth. Document, system, everything is kind of isolated. There is no consolidation in one single place. That leads into time consuming. Time is wasted looking into these different applications. There are teams looking into one application, other teams looking through other applications, and at the end, they're looking for the same information. That is also leading into longer time to take actions. And today, even our capacity to stay focused has been reduced over the time. I think today we can stay like maybe 2-3 minutes focused on something. So we need to take action quickly, faster. And the last one, which is probably the one that I identify myself the most, is the routine tasks. I hate it. Raise your hand, anybody here who likes to, for example, Monday morning, 9 a.m., you have to populate an Excel with numbers or something that is repetitive, that is not really useful. Nobody's raising the hand, obviously. So we prefer to focus on something that is productive, something that is more shiny, exciting. I'm a soccer player, and I will use that as an example. Nobody would like to be on the bench. You want to be in the field. You want to be playing. So that is what is happening with the traditional way of working. And it translates into more than 40 hours a month that we spend in wasting time, repetitive tasks. That's why QuickSuite is changing the way that we understand the BI traditional tools. It's a truly agentic AI that reimagines the way we work in the IA era. QuickSuite is the enabler that combines data and intelligent actions. And I will walk you through this slide. If you see on the bottom, we still need data. AI is not going to work if we don't have data, if we don't have quality of data. You can see that we have enterprise data, we have actions, and within the enterprise data, we can have knowledge bases, basically any type of unstructured data. We can upload files also, audio files, videos, PDFs, Word docs, any type of unstructured data. And we can also use the QuickSight data, structured data. And we're adding this concept of spaces. Think about spaces like a storage, where you can not only store data, in this case, where you can accept deliveries, let's say on that way, but through the actions, you can also interact with third-party apps, so you can also send deliveries. So our storage is going to be able to store data, but also send data or action into third-party application. And sometimes our enterprise data is not enough. We need to go out there, go to the web, go to the LLMs, Bedrock models, to enrich our enterprise data. Once we have that base, that foundation layer, since we are working with data, governance and security is a very critical aspect in our solutions. We are using QuickSight, governance, and data security because it's reliable. We have been using it for 8 years. Role-level security, column-level security, role permissions, and we are adding additional capabilities to manage all the additional unstructured data, uploading files, actions, and so on. So once we have our governance and data layer, we have our data foundation, we have the capabilities. What are those capabilities? Chat agents, research, QuickSight, flows, and automate. We want to democratize the access to the insights. What is the best way to democratize the access to insights? Having an easy tool, a tool that anybody, no matter how tech-savvy you are, you can use it. And the best way is a chat. Natural language. Type a prompt, type what you want, and ask for the question, ask for the insight that you're looking for. That is the chat agent capabilities. Access to any type of insight, no matter what it is. I don't care anymore if it's structured or unstructured data. I just want my insight. QuickSight. We are still using QuickSight. QuickSight is part of QuickSuite. So there are times where we will need to access or see, because we are very visual animals, that's true, we need to see a graph, we need to see a chart. So you can still use QuickSight. And research. Think about the research for a more or deep dive, deep analysis. Think about a report, like a benchmark analysis. More professional format, like when you have a consultancy company coming to your company to do a benchmark analysis of one of your products, or you want to go to market with a product, or that is what research is going to help you with. And I will talk a little bit more about that later on. So this is helping with the insights, with the data. But I mentioned before that one of the things that I hate the most is repetitive task, routine. Flows and automate, those are focusing on tackle this problem. Flows is going to help you to avoid this repetitive day-to-day task. Like when you have to look into the dashboard, find some outliers, for example, and do something with those outliers later on in another tool. You can automate that through the flows. And in those cases where you need to interact with multiple agents, with multiple departments, automate is going to be the solution. And I will go through this in a little bit more later on. But since we are talking about BI, or I guess most of us are coming from the BI world, let me walk you through the journey from self-service BI into AI-assisted BI. Traditionally, what we do, we ask the customer, OK, what are the questions that you want to ask to the data? And from there, we find where is the data, and we build the dashboard. And there is a unidirectional communication from the users and the dashboard. And this is something that we need to continue to be working on, because the dashboard needs to be updated. So what we are doing now, moving into the next generation of BI with agentic AI, is combining the data, creating this layer, which here is in the middle, and before it was the bottom layer, where we are combining structured, unstructured, near real-time data. And we need to keep in mind also that one of the probably strongest or most areas that thing is going to be changing in the future for the good is the MCP connection to third-party data. So we have the single source of data, let's say that, and then we move into how to interact with that data. Chat, flows, research, automate, I mentioned those before. But let's go even beyond that. Add these capabilities into some of the applications that we use more commonly. Outlook, Slack, Word, even in your browser. You can install or add an add-on into your browser, so you can add the chat and interact with your browser, with the content of the whatever is the web that you are loading into your browser. Sorry. Then going back into the dashboard, QuickSight, what we are doing is not allowing only the users to get insight, but also directly from the dashboard, being able to take actions. From the data itself in the dashboard, connect or send an action to a third-party application. So you don't need to leave the dashboard. I was telling you before about the quick research, and think about quick research. You have, as a company, you have launched several services to the market, several products to the market, and you want to launch a new one. So you have a history of data about marketing campaigns, what you did, what was working well, what was working not that well, the outcome in the structured data showing you the sales increase, sales go down, whatever. So quick research is going to use all that data, plus data that is in the foundational models, and if you want also data from the internet, from the web, to create this professional report with citations so you know where from each data is coming from. So there is, let's say, no risk or lower risk to hallucination because you know where is the data coming from. Flows, I mentioned before, helping with your day-to-day task. I was talking with one customer in the telco industry. They were using a flow just to check through the call records from 1 month, find outliers, and the outliers detected compare with the previous 2-3 months average consumption, and in case that there was like a 50%, or the consumption was 50% over the average, automatically trigger and create a ticket in Jira. So that's one example of one simple flow that you can create with quick flows. Quick Automate, it's a little bit more complex because it requires a little bit more technical knowledge, and think about it as a more multi-agent cooperation where you can even include some steps with Python code to be executed. And one example would be human resources department, where you want to add new users into the system, and you need to work with multiple areas or databases and so on to add that user. To summarize, what we are doing with QuickSight and now QuickSuite is providing insight for everybody, everyone. You don't need to be a tech savvy, as I mentioned before, because it's an easy tool to use. Basically, you just need to type what you want to do. Even when I was talking about flows, you can build a flow literally telling, I want a flow that is doing this, this, and that. Just describing the different multiple steps. Unlock new business values, as Moody's shared today with us, how they are embedding QuickSight into their intelligent risk platform, helping their customer to do better decisions. And the last one, answers into action. I just talked about this previously. Directly from the dashboard, when you detect something, when there is an insight that is critical or is important to highlight, you can send that information into a third party. With that, if you have more interest in knowing a little bit more, you can scan this QR code. You can go to the QuickSight embedded, QuickSuite. But I will highlight this one on the left of the slide, the QuickSight community, because it contains all the information that you need, literally. There is a YouTube channel with videos. There is a section for Q&A. There are webinars that we run every week, workshops that we run monthly. Everything is here, even myself. And I have been working with QuickSight for 4.5 years. I go to the Q&A sometimes when I have questions, because we have a community of people also helping to answer questions. We are Thursday, so probably there is only one more session before the end of the day. And to end, I would like to ask or share something with you. I have 6 more minutes. Do you know Werner Vogels? Anybody knows who is Werner Vogels? Yeah, he's AWS CTO. In fact, his keynote is going to be in around 1 hour. So I highly recommend if you have time to join. If you go to his LinkedIn, and you can go to LinkedIn right now on your phone if you want to. In his background on the LinkedIn, he has one quote that says, the most dangerous sentence in English is, we have always done things on this way. I love it. I love it. Because if you're doing things in a way today and they work, it doesn't mean that you cannot do things better. There are way more things that you can explore. So I will end my session, encourage you, if you haven't tried yet QuickSuite, try. Even if you need to reach out to us, you need credits, reach out to us. And I'm sure you will like it. With that, please complete the session survey, and I think we have some time for questions as well. So I will ask my colleagues to come back to the stage and